Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. If you don't know, my name is Christiana Davidson. I'm a psychotherapist and a hypnotherapist, and I use both of those to help my clients come out of toxic relationships, either in the present day or those that they grew up in and were groomed in as children. And of course, you know the impacts of having a narcissistic family system or a narcissistic person in your life. It's huge. Now, today we're going to look at the difference between having a narcissistic mother and having a borderline mother. Now, it's not to say that you can only be one or the other. These two often are comorbid. In other words, they overlap. And those parents that demonstrate narcissistic traits often have borderline traits too, but others are more distinctive. And we're just going to look at the main key characteristics today, because it can be helpful just to get yourself a bit more clear as to which one your parent may have predominated in. So in a nutshell, before we get into the depth of it, the borderline mother manipulates by using guilt and fear. She manipulates her child to be available to her whenever she wants, and that the child is there to take responsibility for her happiness, her problems, her emotions. The child is there for the mother as an emotional support rock. The child is there to serve her, in other words. The narcissistic mother, however, is not dependent on the child, but their lack of dependence is more of a sort of an apathy. There's a coldness, there's a distance that's sort of like, well, I'm not too bothered whether you're here or not sometimes. The narcissistic mother sees her child more through the lens of can this child be useful to me? How can I have this child aggrandize myself? When my child is useful to me, then I see them, then I give them attention. Or sometimes I give them attention in order to get them to aggrandize me or to do what I want. So I would suggest if you resonate with either of these, then I can tell you one thing for sure. As a child, you were emotionally neglected and emotionally abused, in other words. And that's something, out of all the abuses, many people kind of dismiss that one. So I'm like, oh, well, I mean, you were emotionally abused. Yeah. If it's physical abuse or sexual abuse or verbal abuse, people tend to kind of, oh, yes, that's a real thing. But emotional abuse is that kind of one in the background that people often don't understand the incredible negative impact that emotional neglect, emotional abuse has. So why do I say that you will have experienced emotional abuse? Because the way that each of these mothers we're discussing today impacts their children plays out slightly differently and affects children differently. So we're getting a bit more into the depths of this now. The borderline mother sees her child, usually one in particular, as the source of life for her, the source of life. And there is a kind of psychological umbilical cord that she implants and nurtures and grows and secures and holds on to and will not let go of between her and her child. And as you know, an umbilical cord is for the feeding of the child, but in this sense, no, the psychological cord is the opposite way. It's yes, the child will be fed through it with the mother's attention, and even her neediness at times makes the child feel loved. But it's also the mother feeding off of the child. So it's this psychological sort of toxic uh, utilization, or toxic bond, rather. The borderline mother will also make sure that she plants in the child the belief that the child can never escape from that bond, that it's something there that they can never be free of. And many of my clients come with this, how can I actually be free of her? I can't seem to, doesn't matter if I've got no contact, I can't seem to break this psychological hold that she has over me. It's like she still won't let go. And this is, this is completely understandable, because what's happened in childhood is there has been a psychological takeover. And what we need to do, and the work I do with clients now, is in hypnosis, we go in and we sever that umbilical cord. We cut it. And it can have an extremely powerful effect, because the client then realizes, no, hang on a second, I can be free of this. I really can, if I want to be. So the borderline mother has a need to feed. That's how I always remember it. She has this desperate need to feed off of her child. It's a hunger, an empty vessel that can never be filled enough. She can never get enough. Yeah, the borderline mother is hungry, needy for affection, devotion, affirmation for herself, because she is an empty vessel within. She wants to fill that emptiness with her child's life. But when your own mother is that needy of you, when it should be the other way around, it causes chaos in the life of the child. It causes CPTSD, anxiety. Why? Well, particularly because you can never fully trust your mother. You can never fully trust her intentions. Whatever she does, whatever she says, is really potentially her manipulating to get you to be entrapped, ensnared further. So as a child, you grow up never being able to trust the one who is your mother, and who on many occasions will appear like your mother, like a mother, like a good mother, but behind the scenes, she is manipulating, she is self-centered. So the borderline mother's aim is to maintain you as her source of life, and she will go to any lengths to do this. Some of them even quite sinister at times, kind of subtly sending out arrows to bring your self-esteem down, or arrows, what I used to describe, in conversation with a borderline, maybe more narcissistic mother, but sending out these sort of little darts to kind of just bring your self-esteem down a bit. And that's another feature here, the manipulation of emotions. Being in control of your emotions gives her dominance over you. Okay. The borderline mother will try to make sure that you don't end up leaving her for another partner. So she'll either do that by suggesting you're unattractive or you're not capable. She doesn't give you the skills in relationships. She's constantly sort of nurturing the aspects of you that will make you unattractive to another partner or bring you down in confidence of being able to have your own family. She does all of this to ensure that you're never going to grow up in many ways, and find that independence, because independence to her is devastating. Your independence is devastating. It's not devastating. It's almost like you're obliged to not leave her. That's her thinking. So it's the greatest sort of affront to her, the greatest rejection, that you wouldn't want to be her source of life. She will want to be in charge of your emotions, to affect how you feel, either boosting you up one minute or making you feel rubbish the next. If she is happy, you're allowed to be happy, or sometimes she's happy because you're not, because it makes her feel better and she's one up on you. It's endlessly confusing, and it's so highly manipulative too. She'll use money, guilt, fear, health, God, anything to get you to believe you cannot separate from her, that you cannot ever be free of her, that you are hers, and that it's meant to be you and her against the world, with her on the throne, obviously. Any threats or signs or movements towards independence will be met with, sort of a tantrum-like response. You'll either be punished immediately, or she'll just clock it. She'll take note of it, and then she will begin to plot her revenge. So it can be very calculated at times with the borderline and the narcissistic mother. Like I say, these two do overlap a lot. So don't think I'm talking exclusively about one or the other. It's just the main characteristics. Okay. On the other hand, now the narcissistic mother sees her child as a utility. Like I said before. What do I mean? Well, it's like a handbag. You can pick it up when you want to go out shopping and look good. You can, get it to carry things for you. If it's an expensive one, you can sort of show off to people about it. That's the way the narcissistic mother views her child. She's not dependent on the handbag, but she's happy to use it in order to bolster her false self-image of the good mother, the successful woman, the doting wife, the fashionista, the whatever. She's happy to use her child to support her in that. So the child of the narcissistic mother will be picked up, put down, used, discarded, as and when she sees some benefit in giving you attention. Other than that, you're a burden and, annoying, or, you're not of use when you've got needs yourself. She's not looking to be dependent on you, in other words. So the narcissistic mother is likely also to easily replace you or the child with someone else if you're not really responding as she wishes. If you're a bit of a disappointment, you've failed her in some way, there's an apathy that runs through the narcissistic mother that we don't see so much in the borderline. The narcissistic parent uses attention as love, and she'll use it to coerce the child into meeting her own selfish needs. But she'll also withdraw it on other occasions in order to train you to always try harder to try to please her, to try and become the utility that she wants. The handbag, the pleasing handbag. The narcissistic mother will idealize and discard. She'll have golden child scapegoat. She'll be so subtly and not so subtly vindictive and calculating also, as she's often forever in competition with her child. She's often lording it over the child, you know, in a sense, sort of always needing to stamp down on them to keep herself one up. This causes an extremely low self-esteem in the child and in the later adult, especially amongst their peer group. So neither of these mothers are able really to have any empathy for their children. The attention is all about them. Even though we're told that borderlines do or are able to be empathic, I would suggest, well, that's all very well. Yes, they may be able to be empathic. However, this empathy comes with the agenda that is always operating within the borderline mother. So the empathy you may have experienced from your borderline mother at times, it was true. It was true empathy. However, it was more about making you dependent upon her for empathy. And that's the toxicness of both these types of mothers. You know, you cannot trust either of them. And if you've had a narcissistic mother, you know, I really encourage you to get some support, you know, whether it's with me or somebody else, because, you know, we have to go in and take back charge of our psychological world and cut that, you know, that cord that may still be binding you to your disordered mother. And if that's something that appeals to you, please reach out. I'm available to take on some new clients. I haven't got many spots left, but if you want to get started on this ASAP, you know, please reach out for a free consultation and we can get you started as soon as you wish. And like I say, I use hypnotherapy and psychotherapy, and it is hugely powerful. Okay, everybody, thank you. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to be doing another part 2 tomorrow now on the borderline mother, and then the next one will be the narcissistic mother, just so that we can really flesh this out a bit to get a clear distinction about the two. Take care. Bye now.